Alright guys, we're here with myself, Brettles. We've got Peach here as always, and then we've got special guest Funk this week. How you guys going?
Yeah, good.
Really good.
Good. Alright. So it's been a pretty good first week to the season. Did you guys watch all of the opening night games? I'm pretty sure Peach did, but I don't know about you, Funk.
Watched the Miami one, and what was the other game?
The only two games anyone cared about were Miami versus Chicago, obviously, and
the
Lakers versus the Clippers.
Yeah, I watched the Lakers versus Clippers.
It was ridiculous.
You me posting on 6A.
yeah, that's right. I'm sorry about the blurriness. I've just had to dump a couple of things in here. It wasn't designed for this, but whatever. The program didn't quite work. So these were a couple of the games and a couple of the key stats. Yeah, I guess the big one that happened this week was Miami versus Chicago. A lot of people thought it was going to be Chicago's time to beat Miami, but I don't think it really was as close a game from what I was watching as the score may indicate. What do you guys think?
Yeah, Miami were up large in that game. It got closer at the end, but it was already over, really, when they closed that gap.
Yeah, second quarter, yeah. So it was like 17 to run or some shit. Something like that.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, look at that second quarter breakdown, 18 to 37. I mean, it just got ridiculous. And then fourth quarter, I don't think they played LeBron or Bosh or any of them. It was pretty much just Norris Cole and Scrubs versus Derrick Rose.
It was kind of like the Philly game where the Heat scored 45 in the third, and Ray Allen hit fucking 3 from half court, and then we just got stomped on in the fourth because they just backed off LeBron, and then Carter Williams came out of nowhere and stripped the ball every single time in the last 2 minutes. Oh,
he started the game with a good steal.
Yeah, jeez, that kid. It's pretty good.
I don't know if any of you guys has watched Orlando versus Indiana. Well, I thought it was a real big surprise. I mean, look at that second quarter. Orlando went into the half ahead.
Yeah,
and they...
I did watch that game, all of it, and they were down. I think it was 12-0 or something. 12-zip at the start. I think it was it that game?
No, it was more than that. I think it was almost like 16-2 or something ridiculous. Like Orlando just came out real strong.
I think didn't Hibbert have like 7 blocks in the game?
Hibbert?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he had like 7 blocks.
I can bring that up.
He did. He had a lot, and David West had 5 blocks as well.
Yeah, that's right, because he stomped you. I remember us talking about that on 6A.
Yeah, but yeah, and leading to the fantasy, that my blocks were supposed to be, well, they should have been my best category, but he just smashed me in them this week.
It doesn't help that you've got Sanders just not pulling his weight.
Larry Sanders.
Yeah, and Jefferson injured, but still.
Yeah, well, Jefferson's just not a huge shot blocker. Like, he'll get you 1 or 2, maybe. But he's not... he's not...
Terrible player on defense. He's just terrible, worst fucking defensive player. Yeah,
but his offense is pretty good, pretty damn good. And then that Lakers game was amazing. I'm assuming everyone's watched that since all of the Twitter sort of hype that was going around it.
Yeah, I watched that one too.
Chris Paul...
I
think Chris Paul had like 8 turnovers in the fourth quarter or something like that. Like, it was just ridiculous watching that. They just could not hold on to the ball, and the Lakers sort of bench made them look like idiots.
Yeah,
Chris Paul could have just taken it out. He was guided by Steve Nash half the game, and he just kept dumping the ball off. And legit, the Lakers have Pau Gasol and Chris Kaman on the inside. Obviously,
almost no depth.
Yeah, and if Blake Griffin can't take it out, bloody Pau Gasol and Kaman every single time, is obviously not an elite power forward.
But it was worse than that. I think Peach mentioned that it was Twitter was talking about him not even being able to match up against Wesley Johnson, the 6'6".
I remember Wesley Johnson was defending him for like the fourth quarter and like a bit of the third quarter, and he couldn't score it. But I don't get it. He's supposed to be one of the best power forwards in the league, isn't he?
Well, he a couple of years ago maybe. But he said it's the death of Lob City, and that was about the only thing going for him.
Well, like
but he took over today's game.
Yeah.
In the rankings, to the ESPN rankings, he was up at some ridiculous number again as well. Although to be fair, he played that last game they had. He played pretty well in. So I don't know. He's hard to pick. He's just a bit soft, I think.
And he's got those the T-Rex arms. He's got a tiny wingspan.
Yeah.
Oh god. Yeah, there's been a couple of other good games since opening night. The opening night was sort of a good start because it really showed that anything can happen this season. Like a lot of things that we thought were set in stone just could end up going either way. Like the Lakers could make the finals and they could. I mean, it would be completely ridiculous, but once Kobe gets back, I'm assuming they're going to get even better.
Do you know that big game, that Lakers game? Jordan Hill. It was amazing.
Yeah.
Like, literally, the fourth quarter, he just got every rebound, just tipped it. And, you just see Blake Griffin and DeAndre Jordan just standing on defense trying to grab the D board. And then you just see Jordan Hill kind of know and tap the ball back. And that's what won them the game.
Just had so much energy.
Here's another Knicks draft pick that we traded away. Thanks for reminding me.
How long ago did you trade him away?
We traded him to Houston, from memory. That was a while ago now.
He's been there for a few years ago. Yeah, well, it looks like such an odd roster, that Lakers roster. Like, their starting lineup, Steve Nash should retire right now. Agasol's playing alright. Kaman's playing alright, but I mean, Nick Young is bad as he's putting up points, but he's not shooting well.
He's horrible. He never has shot well. He's horrible, Nick Young. And I think probably Nash. I think has been probably their worst player. I think he hasn't done anything. Nothing.
Well, statistically, I think it is. Yeah, I'm a big supporter of that. Yeah, but there's been a couple of other games since then. I don't have it up on the screen, sorry, but there's been quite a number of really good games. Can you think of any other really important ones? Has there been any good Knicks games that you've seen or anything like that?
Yeah, the Knicks. Well, our first game against the Bucks was terrible. We were up 25, and then they took the lead right near the end, and we ended up winning. But it was an ugly game. The good one was New York and Chicago. Rose hit the game winner. Yeah, there's about 5 seconds left. That was a good game. It's frustrating to watch as a Knicks fan. I think the lineups that Woodson plays just infuriate me. I don't know why he persists with some of the lineups that he does. The 2-point guard lineup for us is our best. It has been for probably 18 months now, and he just plays it so sparingly. He persists with Bagnani, and it's quite frustrating.
And he's given Amari sort of decent minutes as well.
Well, I think he only played 10 minutes, but they were at sort of, key moments, and our D is horrific with him on the court, and the same with Bargs. When we were down, I think, 12 in the fourth quarter, and when we made the run to take the lead, it was the small ball lineup, so Tyson, Melo, Shumpert, Kriegs, and Felton, and it's our best lineup it has been for 18 months, and they played some good minutes together and ended up closing that gap and actually took the lead at the end of that game before Rose hit that shot. I don't know, he just ignores the evidence with something that's infuriating.
Yeah, well, I'm just going to bring up some of the games from the week while we're talking, but how good was that Rose sort of, I don't know if you call it a floater, maybe a hook shot, whatever it was, that...
Sort of a running floater, wasn't it, along the baseline? Yeah, it was a good shot, and it really rescued that game for him. And then after the game he had against Miami too, he was no good at all in that first game. I know he's coming back from, a serious injury, but I think I was sort of hoping for a bit more of a fairy tale comeback for him. He's not been very good, to be honest, in the 2 games, other than that game winner. If not for that, his lines haven't been good at all.
Well, Funk had up an interesting shot chart before that we can't get working right now, but he was showing me just before we started this, and Derrick Rose has shot really badly. And I think we'll get into it in the fantasy segment. Yeah, all right. Well, he'll bring it up for us. Give us a
Yeah, he was shooting I think 30 or 40% from inside AC. He legit lives in the paint. He can get to the rim at will, and he's finishing at 30, 40%.
But,
Yeah.
I mean, like, even just with that game against the Knicks, I think he'd shot something like 6 of 18 or something really bad. I don't have the stats, but I don't care about the stats.
It was even worse than that. I think he hadn't had a good game. He hit a couple of threes in a row, I think, in the third quarter, and that was really the only bright spot in that game for him until that last second shot. So, yeah, lucky for him to hit it.
Yeah, well, he's just bringing it up now. This screen lags a little bit, so we're sorry about that, but we'll make it a little bit better in the future.
34.48% from inside.
That's not him. Oh, yeah, here it is. Sorry, the red. Yeah, that's terrible. Look at that. Like, that's not a great shot chart for one of the best players in the league.
Yeah, and he was coming back from that injury, but he looked really sharp in the preseason. Like as I said, I was hoping for a real fairy tale sort of, come back from him, and by the end of the season it might well be like that for him. It could, he could get back to where he was, but it's just been a bit disappointing for me. I think I was hoping for a real fairy tale story.
Maybe he shot 50% plus from 3-point land in the preseason, so expecting to shoot like lights out at the start of the season, but.
Well, he had a pretty tough start to the season. I mean, what did he have? He had Miami, he had the Knicks, and what was his third game? Or was he only had 2?
He's only had 2 games. Oh no, he played one today.
No, they lost today to Philadelphia. Beat them today.
Yeah, I don't remember his stats from that, but I guess we'll bring that up in a little bit.
He's almost
Can you click? Yeah, just click on his name.
Yeah, look, he's averaging 2 points.
But what was his actual stat line for today? Just click on his name for a sec.
Yeah.
No, there we go. Wow. Oh, that's fantasy points. Oh yeah, there we go.
He shot pretty poorly too, though. He shot pretty poorly too. Yeah, so he shot 8 turnovers as well.
That's right. I did hear a lot about that on Twitter. I couldn't watch it, but I read about it. 4 of 14, so that's another really bad start.
Yeah.
He's had, even before this game too, he'd had more turnovers than assists. I think in every game he played.
I'm just going to bring up the other one and then stop me if you see a game that you remember that you watched that looked pretty interesting.
Oh, the game of the week was probably the Clippers versus
Golden State.
Yeah, that game was amazing.
Where was that? That was the day after that, wasn't it?
Yeah. Steph Curry just went off, and then Chris Paul went off.
That was ridiculous. And how do we bring up the stats?
So really quickly on that Bulls-Knicks game again too, the defense in the fourth quarter from New York, even with that small lineup, was outstanding. They only scored, I think, 9 or 11 points in the fourth quarter. And you watch the next game, I bet you Woodson starting.
Whoa, holy crap.
Really hard, man.
Sorry about that. I thought if I clicked that it would go away. Sorry, go on, Peach.
Just quickly on Woodson and the Knicks D, even with the small ball lineup, looked really good in the fourth quarter against Chicago, but I can almost guarantee that Woodson will come out with his big lineup again in the next game, and I'll be complaining all afternoon on 6A again. Yeah,
well, what do you think of Felton? Is he fitting in like he did a couple of seasons ago? I can't remember exactly when. I think it was 2-3 years ago.
Yeah, Felton, look, he's an average point guard, I think. There's nothing amazing about him, but he's solid, and he always plays hard. I don't expect too much from him, so if he can give us a dozen points and 5, 6, 7 assists a game, I'm happy with that, as long as his shooting is decent, which it has been so far this season. So,
but does he work with that 2-guard lineup, or would you prefer to have, like, say, maybe Shump and Briggs or something like that?
No, I like Felton and Briggs as the 2-point guards in the lineup. They're just Priggy on is the key. His ball movement is just so good and makes such good passes and such good decisions. And his defense is, full court pressure, pretty much the whole time he's on the floor, and he creates so many turnovers. He doesn't get credited with all of them, the steals, but he forces, 8-second backcourt violations and all sorts of things. He's a bit of a catalyst when he's on the court, I suppose.
Yeah. And on this game, did you end up watching this game, Peach?
I did, yeah. That was a really good game.
But was it?
There was no D whatsoever.
Yeah.
But it was an entertaining game, I should say.
It's the Clippers.
Yeah, well, it was a bit surprising that neither team played defense and that it ended up being such just a shootout. Like, look at that, 38 points for Curry. Where's Thompson? Oh, this was Thompson's bad game, his only bad game of the year. I think if he had have turned up and shot a bit better, then maybe they would have done a bit better.
Yeah. Steph Curry is making everything just what he does.
Yeah,
like,
he's got unlimited range, it seems.
Yeah, like he's like Gilbert Arenas, but he actually makes a shot at a 40%. How much did he shoot last season? 45%.
Yeah.
Who was that? Sorry.
Steph Curry.
Yeah, he shot 45 or 46% from three. It was crazy. Like, I think the only person who did better was oh, there we go. We can bring it up. Here's a man with the stats.
What makes it even more amazing, I think, is that everyone knows he's going to shoot them. It's not like he's a sneaky, gets left open and shoots a good clip. Like, he's the focal point of any defense that they're playing against, and he still gets those shots off and hits such a high clip.
Yeah, he just pulls up. Like, he just walks down the court in transition, pulls up, and he makes it in their face. Like, yeah. And he doesn't have long arms either. He just shoots it right in their face. Like, just can't believe the guy.
Well, the highlights from today I didn't get a chance to watch many games today, but the highlights from today of him and Klay Thompson together, they were both doing it all game.
Yeah.
Like, I think they both scored sort of 26-ish each, and they just both were hitting shots that nobody had any business shooting. They're like just a quick shooting version of Melo.
Yeah, they've both got really good releases, smooth releases. Particularly Curry, his shot, it just comes off his hands so easily.
I reckon as long as Bogut doesn't get injured, they're going to be a pretty good, damn good team.
He looks pretty good.
Top 5 in the West, easily.
I was a little bit worried after that. No, not the first game. Yeah, was it their first game that they looked a bit sort of shaky, or was it the second game?
I think the first game, Klay Thompson scored like 30-something on like 15 of like 20 or some shit.
Oh no, that's right. They've looked pretty good. I'm just trying to find it now. Where is it? It was all the way down the bottom, wasn't it? No, not that day. Oh, well, anyway, there's been a couple of real good games. And there's a couple of good ones coming up, I guess.
And some surprise results as well, like obviously Philadelphia. It was 3-0 at the moment. That's, nobody expected that. I know Phoenix have had at least one good win from memory. Who else was meant to be bad? Orlando. Charlotte's got a win. Now they beat someone today. Who they beat? They played someone today and played quite well. And Kemba Walker was outstanding in that game. So there's been plenty of surprising results.
Did you say the Raps are 2-1? Toronto Raptors?
Yeah,
they beat Milwaukee. That's not that impressive, I guess. But Rudy Gay doing 15 rebounds is impressive.
Yeah, it is pretty impressive.
Yeah, we've had a couple of interesting ones, and I'm going to bring up the scoreboard in a minute, but I just wanted to bring up one of 6A's favorite segments, I guess. We've got two players right here with similar stat lines, and I want to get your thoughts on who you think those players are. Immediately, what comes to mind, and who you'd actually prefer in your team.
Definitely point guards. Just 9 assists each.
I wonder, is one of them the rookie, Carter Williams?
Yeah, one of them is, and who's the other one?
Chris Paul?
Chris Paul, no, unfortunately not. He's been averaging more than that, significantly more.
Yeah, he's been pretty big.
Yeah, well, the top one's actually Carter Williams.
Yeah. With
a pretty impressive stat line, but the one below, I don't actually have the follow-up side, but the one below is LeBron this season.
Okay.
That's a bit surprising, I guess, that those two guys are sort of...
Yeah, I'm surprised by the rebound numbers. I would have thought they would have been higher. I would never have guessed that was LeBron.
Yeah, well, that's those two players. Right. As of I guess this morning, I didn't get a chance to get this updated stats from ESPN tonight. I don't think they played today anyway, did they?
Carter Williams did. but he's still averaging the same amount, I reckon.
Yeah, well, he had another really good game, but that's kind of surprising, I guess, that you have sort of a rookie and the reigning MVP scoring near identical stat lines.
Yeah, but LeBron has been playing pretty poorly, I reckon. Like, he's not in mid-season form yet. Like, he's putting up 22, 9, and 5, 22, 9, and 6, and he's playing terrible.
It's all relative, isn't it? It's still amazing numbers, but we've come to expect more from LeBron, I suppose.
9 assists is pretty amazing from a small forward. Like, you'll almost never see those numbers again. Like, I can't think of another passing small forward in the league that's going to come close to that. Maybe if Iggy decided, or someone like that, like somebody who's pretty good with the ball.
Maybe Tracy.
Very impressive, but those numbers from Carter Williams, I mean, that near quad double in the first game was outstanding.
Yeah, amazing.
It was so exciting to watch. Like, I started watching a bit of it, and I'm like, oh yeah, Miami's just going to come back, and it's going to be like a pretty much a blowout in the second half, and Philly's just testing out some guys, but they looked really good.
Yeah, he did strip LeBron like 2-3 times in the fourth quarter. Just especially when like LeBron was just trying to go up double team, get to the rim, get 2 easy points, and all he did was just come across and just strip the ball right out of his hands. And you know, happens then.
He's looked pretty impressive, and what we'll I suppose we'll get to, I guess, later in this, and then also in this stat segment, is that he looks like the goods in terms of Rookie of the Year already. If we're going to sort of put our money somewhere early,
it's a bit early.
Yeah, we'll have a look at some of them, but some of these teams here, these are the 5 teams that I associate with sort of tanking this season. Is there anyone else that you reckon I've missed out on? Maybe the Lakers?
No, Kobe's coming back soon, so I doubt Kobe wants to be part of a tanking effort.
Yeah, well, what's interesting is that of those teams, pretty much most of them are doing surprisingly well.
Eric Bledsoe is playing well in Phoenix.
He played really well in the fourth quarter of that game the other day, but the first 3 quarters I think he was none for. I don't think he had a single point.
Yeah, I think he had 2 points to start the fourth, and then scored.
Oh, maybe they were free throws or something like that.
Yeah.
Was that
the game before that, he was very good as well.
And then he scored 17 points in that fourth quarter.
Yeah, he was legit like making mid-range shots, which we really didn't see in LA. He really didn't have a jump shot at all.
But from those teams, Philadelphia's 3-0. Orlando's looking pretty good. What are Orlando on at the moment? So I'm just trying to bring that up at the moment. Can't spell Orlando.
They lost to the Pelicans.
Oh no, they're 1-2. That's not too bad, but they've looked pretty good in both games. They lost to Indiana and they lost to us in overtime, and they looked like they were going to beat us until Kevin Love pulled something out of his ass.
And if you had to pick at the start of the season 5 teams that would be winless after the first week, you probably would have picked these 5. Maybe Milwaukee in there, I guess. Well, there's some people rate Milwaukee as a playoff chance, but like I said on 6A this afternoon, the shit teams don't know that they're shit yet. And I think all of these guys will have lengthy loss streaks at some point. They'll come back down to earth, I think.
Well, Phoenix is 2-0 as well, and then who was the 5th team?
Boston.
No, Boston. Boston are pretty much the only team without a win at the moment. They're the only team who actually look like they could possibly be terrible. Do you reckon it's just teams slacking off and not giving them the credit early, or do you reckon it's them coming out and just wanting, like the young guys and the role players wanting to impress? Yeah,
I think it's a combination of both. It is hard to get up to, for what you don't think is going to be a competitive game. And then teams, I guess if you're hearing, like I don't know, I'm not an NBA player obviously, but I think if you were hearing all off season how bad you were going to be and how terrible you were going to be, you might well come out with something to try and prove. And I guess if you're playing 100 miles an hour at the start of the season, you can get a few wins, like Philly have, particularly Philly have. But I think by All-Star break, all 5 of these teams will be at the bottom of their conferences. What do you reckon?
Do you reckon? I've forgotten what I was going to ask. My bad. With those teams, do you reckon that any of them look like they have a chance of actually being good, and maybe they'll change their mind and they'll actually start making moves to try and be competitive?
Well, Philly, I guess, look good because they've got some of their wins have been against good teams. But they beat Miami and they beat Chicago. Chicago haven't looked great, but like they're impressive wins. But
they've got a good team, even without Derrick Rose. They've got a really good team.
Yeah, and I don't know. I don't think they've got the star power, I suppose, that you need in the NBA. And if they're in tight games, they've had a few wins here and there so far. But I think come playoff time, if they somehow made it into the playoffs, let's say the 8th seed, and they're playing Miami, I'd put my life on a sleeve in a series like that. They just don't have the players to match up with the better teams in the league, I don't think.
Well, Carter Williams is going to hit the rookie wall soon as well. Like there's always a point in like the rookie season where they drop off.
Yeah,
absolutely. But I mean, he's that far in front of all of the other rookies at the moment that I think he could have half a bad season and probably still get the award.
And speaking of rookies too, Oladipo on Orlando's not been as, I guess, impressive as what I was hoping for as well. And we're 1 week into the season, of course, so a lot can change, but it's been a bit disappointing, I think.
Yeah, well, I've actually got a little bit of a segment on the rookies and how they're rating at the moment, but
I hope you've got some Miles Plumlee stats in there.
This is how the standings are. I probably should have brought this up. Yeah, I do. They're coming up in the fantasy segment. This is just general basketball talk at the moment. Are there any sort of surprises apart from, like, obviously the tanking teams being up there? Like, Minnesota being up there is not a surprise, but say Oklahoma City, there's only been 3 games or 2 games for some teams, so it's a bit early.
Yeah.
But I guess the big surprises are Chicago not being that good.
Miami 1 and 2. And
I guess Miami looking not that great either. Out in the West, though, I mean, is there anything that stands out? Oklahoma City, 1 and 1, haven't looked great at
Memphis,
all.
I think, I'm not sure. I know Bill Simmons thought their window may have closed, so maybe he was right. But I still think they've got a great roster. So for them to be, bottom third of that list was a bit of a surprise. Portland's looking good.
Oh.
My Blazers.
What are we got next? Yeah, they have been looking good. Sorry about the blurriness. This looked better on the other thing, but obviously I had to copy it over into this format. This is at the moment the leaders in just scoring in terms of rookies. But look at the gap between sort of Michael Carter-Williams and Oladipo, who was sort of picked to be the rookie of the year by pretty much everybody. It's almost double the points, and then if I bring up some of the other stats, I mean, he's in front in assists, he's in front in steals, he's in front in rebounds. I mean, the only other person who's ahead of him in rebounds is that, I'm not even going to try and say his name, but that Boston rookie who's making Kelly Olynyk look like a fool.
I think Carter Williams, though, that first game, that will probably be his career best game. In 5 years from now, we'll still be saying his debut was the best game he's ever had, so those numbers are going to come back down to the median pretty quick, I think.
Yeah, hopefully. Or else, I mean, Philly's going to be pretty dangerous if they end up getting a number 1 pick and have him and Noel. How do you say his name? New Orleans.
Noel. I reckon New Orleans going to be good. Defensively.
Oh, he's a season away, so I mean he'll have his Blake Griffin season next year where he's technically a rookie but kind of not.
Yeah. Interesting to note on that rookie page there that the guy's playing heavy minutes, all on what we thought were going to be the tanking teams, Philly, Boston, Orlando.
Yeah, definitely. So maybe that's something they want to get at their rookies sort of what's the word I'm looking for? Acclimatized to the NBA early.
It's definitely worth doing if you're going to have a core team. You may as well be playing getting experience for those guys. Makes sense.
Well, I don't think Boston have a choice. I mean, their centers are both rookies. Yeah. And then they've got Solinger, I guess, who kind of can play center, and he's like a second-year player, so they haven't got much experience to play ahead of him anyway.
Yeah, good to see Tim Holloway Jr. on there too. He's looked pretty good in fairly limited minutes, but he's certainly a rotation player for New York. And he's been a good surprise for me. I wasn't expecting much.
Yeah, well, I think Nature's ended up putting a couple of dollars on him for Rookie of the Year. He's probably a long way from it, but it could happen. It's Steve Adams, the New Zealander, bringing it up 5 points a game, somehow makes this list, which makes me think that the rest of the rookies have been pretty much sat out for a lot of it.
Yeah.
What else have we got? Oh yeah, I guess one of the things that people wanted to hear was what matches have we got coming up in the next week before next week's show that look interesting, and these were sort of my picks from this week, and I'm sure you guys might have some more. I can bring up the schedule, or maybe Funk can bring up the schedule, but these are the games that I reckon
you beat New York and Minnesota.
Oh, that's just because it's me versus Peach, and it's always going to be sort of pretty interesting. We'll probably come out on top.
Looking pretty good so far. Depends what matchups Woodson plays.
Doesn't matter. We've got Corey Brewer. We'll shut down Mello, and he'll score 10 points. And
if New York have extended minutes with Bayani at centre and Mello at power forward, we'll be in deep trouble.
Well, I don't think Mello can defend Kevin Love. I mean, maybe he'd be better than any of the other guys because I guess he can guard the perimeter a little bit better. But inside, Kevin Love's going to destroy him.
Yeah, absolutely. And Pekovic will literally eat Bargs alive and use his arms as toothpicks.
Well, they have to play Chandler against Pekovic because he's a monster.
Yeah.
No, you don't even. Oh, what was that?
Go ahead.
You guys don't really have a traditional center at backup anymore since Camby left, do you?
No, and Camby never played anyway. That's been the biggest trouble. And Woodson's doing this stupid platoon thing with the power forwards as well, the backup power forwards. So Kenny Martin plays one game and then sits the next, and Stoudemire plays the other and sits the next. It's fucking ridiculous. Like, I really don't know what's going on.
Well, he's just trying to be liked by everyone, but not the fans.
Yeah.
What about some of those other games there? Do you like any of them?
I reckon. Like, Dwight's been playing pretty well.
Yeah, he's averaging retarded. I think he's averaging like 17 boards, which is just crazy. He got 26, I think, in that first game.
I think he's finally healthy. Like, he's actually worked on his post game quite a lot. Like, he's backing down, and he's just doing that hook shot, and it's going straight off the backboard going in.
Yeah.
I actually thought Philly might be interesting with sort of Carter Williams with the way he's playing at the moment before he sort of hits that wall. I mean, Philly's looking very entertaining. They're putting up a ton of points. Golden State, I don't think, scored less than 110. So it could be a very high-scoring game.
Yeah,
LAC versus Miami. I mean, it would be fun to watch LAC get stomped, I reckon.
I like the Clippers-Rockets game too. That'll be a fast-paced game. Could be a sort of 130 to 126 job.
Yeah,
I thought the Clippers. I thought the Clippers brought in Doc to improve the defense, but it hasn't been.
I think all he's doing to improve defense is yell, but I don't know what he's yelling because they're not listening. Yeah. Even DeAndre's not playing defense. He's not looking as good as he did in the preseason. I don't know. I think they just need to wake up a bit.
Well, DeAndre was never really.
They've got the personnel. I don't know if they've got the personnel to be a really good defensive team, no matter who the coach is, because DeAndre, he has some spectacular blocks, but that doesn't make a good defender. And he just looks lost sometimes positionally. He doesn't know where he's supposed to be going and who he's switching to or who he's boxing out. It's embarrassing to watch sometimes.
Like his T-Rex arms, you know.
Well, a lot of people think that Chris Paul's actually a bad defender. He's just really good at stealing and finding those little moments where he'll reach and he'll go for it. But
I'm one of those. I don't think he's a bad defender, but I think he's an average defender. He's just got fast hands. He's good. He gets really good steal numbers. He's got fast hands and his anticipation's good, but he gets lost on screens as much as anybody in the league.
And he's really susceptible. He's not too strong as well.
Yeah. The other game I had there, Lakers-Houston, I think should be interesting, and I hope the Lakers win, kind of, which is probably the first time you hear me say that all year. Maybe one of the only times. But it'd be good to stick it to Dwight and actually show them that they're doing much better without him, even with a much worse team.
Yeah.
But
I'm so happy that Dwight's in Houston.
It's in Houston, so it's not that bad. If Dwight came to LA, I think it would probably be a better game.
Yeah, for sure. That's what I was going to say. It's like if the Lakers can only win one game against the Rockets this year, I hope it's when they're playing in LA. That would be
And then obviously Golden State, Minnesota should be crazy. It should be sort of what I expect the Western Conference Finals to be this year.
All the Timberwolves games, yeah? All the Timberwolves games.
Oh, come on. I put 2 Clippers games there, so I'm not that biased. 2 Rockets games. But I don't know what to expect from a lot of the teams this year, so I couldn't really pick them.
Minnesota in terms of the finals, yeah?
They look really good. Kevin Love looks so good.
He does look good. He's a bona fide star, though. And I've been saying that since before draft night. I was like, you must take Kevin Love.
He's got to make the playoffs for this, guys.
Yeah, if he doesn't make the playoffs, he's probably just going to throw a tantrum and quit the sport and go play a different sport or something crazy. He's not going to be happy if he doesn't make the playoffs. We actually had our first injury of the season, which I'm not too excited about, but we lost Ronnie Turiaf indefinitely.
Oh, no.
And he's been looking really good for us, but in the game yesterday, he sort of went up for a rebound, got clipped, and came down and actually shattered his elbow.
Ooh.
And so he's out for the season probably. So he was looking really good coming off the bench, and now, I guess, at the forward position, we don't really have a backup center besides our rookie, Gorgie Deng, or however you pronounce his name, but he looks lost. He can block some shots and he can score some points, but he looks as lost as DeAndre. His only good thing is that he's got sort of like a 9-foot arm span, and so he can just get up there and block shots without even leaving the ground. But yeah, without sort of some backup big men, I hope that we can get through and we don't have any more injuries, because I couldn't bear it again. Last year was just tragic. And I guess...
Talking about DeAndre...
DeAndre. Yep.
Yeah, DeAndre had this... Chris Paul threw an alley-oop to DeAndre, and DeAndre's head was above the rim. So if you haven't seen the video, guys, go see it.
His head was above the ring?
Yeah.
That's outrageous.
Yeah, it was awesome.
I guess we should just get on to fantasy chat, since that's what this was supposed to be about, I guess. Get a bit carried away week 1. But I'll bring up this, and you guys can bring up some other things. I might actually go to the week that was, so I'm just going to bring up something here, and I'll link you guys to it. Sorry about if this is stuttery or anything like that. Every week I'm doing a spreadsheet of where the points are at the point of the show. This is all of the teams and all of their stats, and we can sort it so we can see how people are doing. They're sort of in terms of the matchups. You've got sort of me and Vela, Peach and Ewok, Nature's Benjos, etc. going down the list. And from what I saw, it looks like there's a couple of interesting rounds. Peach is getting absolutely destroyed. What is happening, Peach?
Look, I knew sort of using a reasonably high pick on Westbrook. It was going to be a second half of the season thing for me, but it's still hard to swallow. It's a tough week. Hey?
Like some of those numbers, 3-pointers, you thought you had that locked up, terrible. Rebounds, not even close. Assists, less than half. Steals, kind of bad. Blocks, which you also thought you had wrapped up. I mean, you could maybe turn it around if, I don't know, does Darius Sanders have a game tomorrow?
He does. Tomorrow's actually the only day that I've got a couple more games than Ewok, but it's not going to happen. I think for the week he's going to have had about 8 more games played than me, so that some of those numbers in there are a little bit skewed because of injuries, but he just dominated it. He just totally dominated me. He had I'm just opening up the box for it so I can let you know exactly what happened player-wise, because he just had some of his role players play really, really, really well. The blocks, David West had 5 blocks. So David West is not a shot blocker at all. He'd be lucky to average 1 a game, I think, on the season. And in the first game of the season, he had 5. The assists I knew I was going to lose. I wasn't sort of too concerned about that one. rebounds I should have had him covered, but he's had a few big rebound games, and at the same time, Larry Sanders, for me, is averaging, I think, 1 block a game and 3 rebounds, something like that.
Bad.
That's just not good enough.
But even like if you bench some of these guys and bring in someone else, surely you can give more than 300 points. Like you're dead last in the league. What?
Yeah, well, KD had 42 on opening night.
Exactly, that's like half of your scoring is KD, and then the rest of your players combined haven't added up. Yeah, well, having Ryan Anderson's been out as well, he hasn't played a game yet. I'm sort of relying on him for a few cuts, a couple of rebounds, a couple of threes, a couple of points. Al Jefferson only played 1 game this week. Westbrook obviously is a high pick on his. I'm not counting him because I knew he was out. I actually thought he was out longer than what he's going to be. But scoring, that was never my concern. Like, I'm not worried about scoring. If I come to a matchup in the playoffs where points is going to be a problem, you can find points on the waivers easily. There was more blocks, rebounds, things like that I was worried about, and those categories that I should have had absolutely locked down, just with an average week, I've been horrible in this week. Some parts injury, some parts Ewok just having an outstanding week from some of his guys were just phenomenal. Yeah, well, I guess there's been some good from the week. I mean, your turnovers is the lowest in the league. Your free throws is the highest in the league.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you've done something right there. I mean, you've got some pretty good big men who don't turn over the ball.
Yeah, but that field goal percent of mine at 43%, I don't think that's going to happen too often as well. And again, start of the season, and I've talked about this in the last podcast, I think with Westbrook out, I expect Durant's scoring to go up, but his field goal percentage to go down. And so far, that's, well, other than the game yesterday or today, whenever it was, that sort of happened. His shooting percentages have not been good at all, just too much defense on him. Yeah, I guess the only positive I take from this week is Plumlee. He's the only one I picked him up off waivers, and he's been good.
Yeah, you picked him up before the start of the season, didn't you? Like on opening day.
Yeah, I read that he was the
or did you pick him up on day dot?
It was on the first day, so I didn't have him for day 1 of the games, but it was that day that I got him. Or that I put in the bid for him anyway. I just read that he was a starting centre for Phoenix and expecting them to be a bad team and thought he's going to get some minutes. So numbers-wise, he should go okay.
Well, 15, 14 and 3 blocks. That's better than okay.
Yeah, fantastic. And he had some,
he was owned in 0.3% of leagues before before sort of you got in there and then everyone else started joining, and he's shooting 56%, which is crazy.
Yeah, and I think that.
But what interests me about
you got it.
I might sort of off topic, but you keep going first about him.
I was just going to say the efficient shooting should continue as well, because he's not a focal point at all for that offense. You know, most things anyway running through Bledsoe over there, and he should just sort of be able to pick up similar rebound numbers. I'm hoping for plenty of double-figure rebound numbers and 2 or 3 blocks here and there, and pretty good shooting from him. So he's literally the only guy I'm really happy with on the team for the first week. But at the same time, I'm not. And Spencer Hawes, he was a good pickup as well. He's been good. But JaVale McGee's been
good late draft pick.
Shithouse. McGee's been really, really bad. Not that I expected much from him. Larry Sanders is the biggest disappointment. And KD, I've got injuries like this. Westbrook, Jefferson, Ryan Anderson, I need KD to carry. I really do, and he just didn't this week at all, so hopefully he steps up a bit more next week.
Well, I think he's got a game tomorrow, so you might have to just see how he goes. But what interests me about your team is that you've got a lot of big men. Like, you haven't got many guards. You've got sort of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 guys that could play the power forward or center. Usually that's a recipe for good field goal percentage, having a lot of big men. None of those guys are doing particularly well.
Yeah. That's why I'm reasonably confident in just writing it off as a bad week, and I'm trying not to have too much of an itchy trigger finger and start getting rid of these guys in trading, because I'm pretty confident it's just a down week for a lot of them. If I start trading now, then my plan for the season, which is to have rebounds and blocks on lockdown, field goal percent most weeks on lockdown, and be around about middle of the field with points just on the back of KD, and a few of the others. If I start trading people, I'm going to go away from that, and my team will just be a shambles. So I've got to hang with these guys a little bit longer, and hope they come good, and hope they get healthy as well. That's the other thing.
Yeah, that's a good point. There's a couple of other interesting rounds this week. This week I thought I was claiming on 6A, it's going to be 9-0 sweep, this is going to be embarrassing. And then all of a sudden Funk turned up, Joe turned up to play and came back, and he's actually beating me in categories at the moment. I think it's 5-3 and 1 that's tied. But, I thought that I had this, but I guess tomorrow I've got 6 games or 7 games, and he's only got 2. And I've got Kevin Love, Rubio, and Pekovic, so I'm not particularly worried.
Yeah, so you're definitely getting in rebounds, 100% getting in rebounds. You're definitely getting in assists. You're probably getting in steals. So it'll probably turn back into even blocks, possibly, maybe tied up. So it'll probably turn back into a 8-1 or 7-2 round for you, I think.
I'm really hoping they're having a good game, and that last week, the big three, the fantasy big three, it's not often you find somebody who's willing to draft 3 Minnesota players in a draft, but Ricky Rubio, Kevin Love, and Nikola Pekovic all got a double-double, which really helped my fantasy points in the one game.
It's good output.
Which you're not going to find too many times in the season, but what else have we got here? Natures versus Benjos, I think, was 5-4 to Benjos.
6-3 it is. Yes.
Yeah, was Benjos the team that we were going, what the hell is he doing with those free throws, or was that Dewey?
That was Dewey.
By the way, he's not doing too bad, and look at Natures, 60%.
Yeah.
Lowest in the league. And a couple of other things, I don't know, that's actually a pretty even round. They've sort of picked their categories, and the only one that's really up in the air is 3-pointers.
Yeah, I think the way
all the others
Natures is that tomorrow Benjos has got more games than him. Again, he's got 3 more games. And Dragic, I'm just noticing there, is day-to-day as well, so I'm not sure what's happening there. But
I didn't hear that.
Here.
I don't know why he's not. I didn't know he was day-to-day.
Just looking at those categories, I don't think Natures is going to be able to catch him.
Nah, I think Benjos has got this. Poor Natures. He'll need to do something for next week, but we'll look at next week's matchups, I guess, a little bit later. What else have we got? Dewey versus that black guy. I think black guy was killing him. But what was interesting is that with black guy, he had one of those auto-drafted teams, and he had a lot of point guards. Yet he's actually losing assists and a couple of the categories. And a couple of categories that you'd think point guards would be good at. But I guess he's winning a few, and he's actually destroying Dewey from what I remember.
Yeah. And I'm just looking at the there as well. This one could still go either way, because field goals are still pretty close, only about 2% in it. Free throws only about 1% in it. 4 3-pointers. Dewey's got rebounds. Assists, they're surprisingly close, aren't they? For Black Guy's just in front. Dewey's got steals. Black Guy's in front in blocks, which is not one of his stronger categories. So it could go either way, but I think Black Guy's in the driver's seat there.
Yeah, and then finally, I guess you've got CDR versus the Haiti Quakes, the number one sort of ranked team last week when we did our show. And I think besides free throws and rebounds, it's not that unreasonable to think that CTR could put a fight to him, but I think Hip Hop's got this round.
Well, right now it's 5-4 to Hip Hop, but Hip Hop's got plenty of guys playing tomorrow.
And he's not in danger of giving up any of those categories.
No.
He can only get better, really.
Although, CTR has both Ibaka and Kevin Garnett playing, so if Ibaka goes on one of his crazy 8 or 9 block games...
he could steal it, I guess.
Yeah, although, no, Haiti Quakes, he's got a few shot blockers in there as well. Bosch should get 1. Josh Smith usually gets 1 or 2. LeBron will get 1. So he'll probably be safe, Haiti Quakes. But a lot closer than what he would have been expecting to start the week. I know he was very confident.
Yeah, well, there's a couple of things that I can see from looking at this table right away in terms of planning for future weeks. There's some categories that stand out as having massive differences in them. and also very low numbers. Like, I'm just looking at blocks first. There is not many blocks in the league. I think that's the one that people are struggling with the most. Like, there's a couple of guys with 10s, and then there's sort of, it gets up there, but there's a big difference between first and last, and you really need to have sort of a few shot blockers to be competitive. Because they seem to be pretty hard to get. Like, people that you think are going to block shots are doing it. People that you don't think are going to do it. Like David West are getting 5 blocks, and so it's so hard to predict.
Yeah, well, and that's one of the main things with my team. But I've got to stick with them because I think for the projections at the start, I was a few 100 blocks in front of second place. So again, just fingers crossed it's a downwork for me because blocks are an important category, I think.
Yeah. Also, I guess from this, I'm just filtering a couple of these categories here. But what do we got? I mean, points. There's sort of a 300-point difference between you and Ewok. That's outrageous, and there's a lot in between. So it seems that points are going to be pretty hard to sort of come by right now. And so there's going to need to be a lot of waiver wire help in particular rounds if people want to win that.
To give you an idea of Ewok, like the volume of points that he scored this week, today's games. So I've just run through the point scores that he had. So Tony Parker had 17, which is probably average roughly for him.
Mm-hmm.
Paul George had 21. Thaddeus Young had 13. David Lee had 15. Mark Gasol had 23. Michael Carter-Williams had 26. Sean Marion had 21. That's a big game for Sean Marion at this point in his career. 21 points and 14 rebounds. And that happened almost every day for Ewok this week. He's had a really, really, really good week.
Picking up Carter Williams certainly helped him with those points as well, with 2 sort of 20-plus point games.
Yeah, for sure. And a lot of steals he got as well, and a lot of assists. And then yesterday's games, Aflalo had 30 for Ewok. Thad Young had 29. That's big scoring nights for guys like that. They're role players. But they've had some really big nights for him. This week, so if it can continue for Ewok, I think it'd be tough to beat. But I'm not sure if those guys will continue that sort of output all season.
Yeah. One of the other ones, I guess, is assists. Look at that. That's sort of a big gap between first and last. Again, you and Ewok, strangely enough. But it seems that assists might be the toughest category to get this year because, I mean, a lot of point guards are sort of getting 5 a game, and you can't make up an entire round with that. You really needed to draft someone who's going to get you a lot of assists in order to be competitive in this one. I think a lot of people might end up having to write off assists as a category that they can win.
Yeah, well, I know I will be, and I think I said that on draft night actually, that Vasquez was up for grabs because I'd sort of halfway through the draft I thought I need some assists, so I picked him and then thought, hold on, it's too late for me to worry about assists. I was just in a terrible place with them, but they are the hardest category to get, I think, because there's not many guys. If you filter the league last year's stats, so a big sample size for all of last season, and filter the assist leaders, I'd be surprised if there were more than maybe a dozen players in the league that average more than 5 per game. So there's a few that average double, it's sort of 10 or 11, so Chris Pauls and the Rondos.
Rubio?
And, Rubio, LeBron averages 8, I think, something like that. Westbrook's 6 or 7.
LeBron, I think, averaged
really
6.
After that.
Yeah, like there wasn't many.
It's hard to find good assist, man.
Well, maybe I might be interested in trading Vasquez for Millsap or something like that. We'll have to work on that.
You'll have to have a look at it. I'm gonna, after tomorrow's games, I'm gonna sit down and have a really close look through my team and decide what categories I need to.
Yeah, well, actually, it probably wouldn't be in my best interest because I can see below that you've got me next round, so I don't want to help you beat me.
Yeah.
Field goal percentage, I mean, it's so hard to predict, but there is a big gap there, like 69 to 85%, free throw percentage. That's a pretty big margin, and that's been pretty hard to predict, but I thought I drafted a pretty good free throw shooting team, but obviously second last begs to differ. I don't know, I'm gonna have to work on that. I haven't bought in to players off the waiver wire to fix that.
Yeah, it can shift around week to week though, so I know, like me up there at almost 85%, that's not going to happen every week, even with KD. He had that one game that he was, what was it, 22 out of 24 from the line, something like that.
That's going to
that
carry
made
your
that
team
week.
for a week.
Yeah, exactly right. So you're not going to get that every weekend. Yeah.
Oddly, Dewey's not last by quite a
Yeah,
while.
I was about to say that. Yeah, we got Nature's down there at last. I think Nature's has DeAndre, doesn't he? And he's a
Yeah, he does.
terrible keeper.
And DeAndre, they did a
hack.
hacker DeAndre, I'm pretty sure they did the other night. I think it was Golden State was doing that.
Yeah, so it's on him down there.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. Where's DeAndre? He's on the bench now. 2.7 of 6.7, so yeah, there you go. But yeah, that's pretty interesting, I guess. I'll stop that. And let's have a look at, I guess, the movement that's happened already in the season. There has been a little bit of movement. There's been no trades yet or anyone even proposing trades from what I've heard.
I was proposed one. I can't remember what it was. Someone was trying to get Larry Sanders. He's been terrible for me, as we said.
Trying to buy him low.
Yeah, it was for Varejao. That's right. It was just straight up Varejao for Larry Sanders.
Wow, that's actually interesting.
It's the injury worry with Varejao. I don't think he's played more than 50 games in a season in the last 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, Varejao's like injured every single season.
Yeah, it's an interesting trade though. I mean, because Sanders could be really bad because Horford's looking. No, not Horford. Is it Horford? What am I talking about? Pachulia is the one that's playing ahead of Sanders at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, against New York, Pachulia played a lot. He's been in foul trouble too, so.
Yeah, so maybe he's trying too hard to get those block shots, and he's just.
Yeah, and I do know as well. He missed some time at the end of the preseason. I think his son was really sick. Like he was in hospital with his kid, I think, for a week or two as well. So maybe he's just having a bit of a disrupted sort of preseason, and I'm really happy he gets back in the swing of things.
Well, I think a lot of the experts are saying that don't get rid of him. He's going to come good. So I think he should be right.
He's still earning 100% of leagues, so no one's sort of paying him too much yet, and I'm trying not to as well.
Yeah, but on this, I guess you can see that I've been pretty active. I think I've picked up the same player and dropped him twice with Shump.
Yeah, I saw Shump come and go a few times.
I can't decide if I want to keep him or not. I don't think I need him. I thought I wanted him for the steals, but I didn't end up wanting him. I moved my team around quite a fair bit. And I picked up Trevor Ariza because he's looking really, really, really good in Washington at the moment.
Yeah, I nearly had a go at him as well when I saw him after their first game. I thought, this might be worth a crack, and kicking myself a little bit now. But do you think he'll last like that for much longer, that sort of output?
Well, no one else on the team is really doing that good. They were supposed to be playing Martell Webster ahead of him after they gave him a sort of a big deal in the off-season, but Martell Webster hasn't been shooting well, and I guess Ariza's been shooting really well. I think he had like 5 or 6 3-pointers in a game.
Yeah.
And a couple of other good things. What was it? That wasn't his good one. 1 of 7 from 3. That's not that great. But where's... I can't find it. But yeah, in that game where he scored 28 points, he looked really impressive. And then I've made a couple other moves, but I guess... You picked up Amir Johnson. What's Amir been doing lately?
I actually had Amir. I drafted him really late. I think he was my last draft pick, or second last draft pick. It doesn't look like it now when you go through those stats on that spreadsheet, but before today's games, I was actually in a couple of categories reasonably close to Ewok. I thought I was going to be able to catch him in blocks and field goal percent and potentially points. So my whole strategy was, if I grab Amir, he's more likely to block a few shots than what Reggie Jackson was. His field goal percent's more likely to be higher than Reggie Jackson's. So I made that trade made that waiver wire pickup hoping that Amir might just assist me in a couple of little categories just to get me within striking distance on the last day of games for tomorrow. But it went the other way. Ewok had a huge day today, so it didn't really work for me.
There's been some sort of hits and misses.
Okay, Amir Johnson threatens for a double-double most games, so he's not a bad fantasy player, but he's not amazing either.
What do you think about these stats for Ray Allen? I mean, he was picked up pretty early on after he had a pretty good first game, I guess. But sort of 14 points, 3 assists, 3 rebounds, almost 3 steals. Three-pointers. That's not bad for the old fella. I didn't think he'd go that well this year. So he could be an interesting pick up and get those sort of 3 threes and some points and some other things.
It's been a bit of a renaissance for Ray Allen, but again, I don't know how long that'll last as well. I think
Miami has been pretty bad, and maybe once Dwayne Wade comes back, he'll sort of regress a bit. This was my start pick. Look at those numbers for Lance Stevenson. I picked him up after he had sort of, I think, his first or second game. When did I pick him? Yeah, just after that second game. And he came good for me again. 19 points, 4 assists, 6 rebounds, 3 three-pointers. That's ridiculous off the waiver wires.
Yeah, I've got him in our overall points league as well.
Did you draft him or did you pick him up?
No, I picked him up off waivers.
Yeah, and then, I mean, a couple of other guys that are doing things. Mario Chalmers is sort of not doing much, but he's hitting 3-pointers, and that's why I picked him up. Yeah,
I think just going back to Ray Allen for a sec, it's the way Dwayne Wade, they're talking about him not playing back-to-backs and that sort of thing. That's only going to help Ray Allen. He's obviously going to get more minutes that way. I still see him as just a 3-point threat, though. I think that 3 rebounds, 3 assists. I don't think he'll average that for the season. I'd be very surprised if he did.
Yeah.
I mean, it kind of just go off in that Philadelphia game. So, like, he had one really good game, but I don't think he can keep it up for the season, to be honest.
I just wanted to check out the waiver wire at the moment and see who's still available. In terms of sort of scoring, since we're talking, I mean, what were the categories we were looking at that we said were important? Block shots.
Yeah.
4.5 a game on the waiver wire. That's really good if you're struggling for blocks. I'm just going to have a look at some blocks and see. I mean, there's 5 blocks a game could really turn you around if you've got a game tomorrow. So maybe check out Vince or Vinny. Sorry. Oh, what's his name? Vitor. I thought it was Vince. My bad.
At the same time, though, that's an inflated figure. I think he's only played 2 games.
Yeah.
And it's not, I don't know, if he averaged 4.5 blocks for the season, that'd be probably the most since Mutombo. Like, it's just not going to happen. That'll get back down under 2, I think.
Even Ibaka on a good year, I mean, a few years ago, I think he had 3.6, and that was crazy.
Yeah, that's right.
If you're looking for it, I mean, maybe down at John Henson 1.3, but it'd be worth taking a risk for a week or 2 and then just see how he goes, because no one else there is really jumping out at me in any other category at all.
Yeah.
I reckon
he's in the class of his own.
I reckon you want Biombo if you want to block shots.
Mark. He's playing 32 minutes a game, the guy in Boston as well. So if you're getting good minutes like that, then there's a chance of some good output.
Yeah, well, that's true. What were some of the other categories? Assists, I guess we were looking at. Nothing's really jumping out, like you said. I mean, not many players above 5 there.
Yeah.
Chauncey Billups probably won't keep it up for too long once Brendan Jennings comes back. Will Bynum, who knows what's happening there, but probably in the exact same situation.
Yeah.
Max won't continue averaging that. He's going to average less and less points.
Yeah.
So really, there's no one that's really jumping out. For me, Josh McRoberts, that's crazy. I wouldn't really be that thrilled about any of them, to be honest, unless somebody gets injured.
And it's a tough category. It's just, I think if you need to have your draft strategy set to have a high assist team. It's tough to find meaningful assist numbers on the overwire, I think.
Yeah, I guess just one name that jumped out at me then was Zaza. Zaza with 13 and 7, and I think he's actually had a couple of really good games here. 13 and 11, 20 and 9, but then 6 and 3 today wasn't that impressive. So hopefully people don't jump on him, because I think that he's not going to continue averaging that for more than a week.
Yeah. It was interesting too to see Anthony Bennett get dropped. Just a quick note on him. Apparently he's now 0 for 10 for his NBA career, which is not
from the field.
Yeah.
Well, no one thought it was going to be amazing anyway. He's just like a tweener. He's kind of like Derek Williams and Michael Beasley. He's just not big enough and not quick enough.
Yeah. It was an interesting pick.
I'm just seeing sort of who's getting a lot of shots, and Nate Robinson maybe. I mean, there's no one really that's jumping out at me as somebody that anybody would really want, unless you really want field goals. You could maybe have a look at Nene, 67% from a big man who's getting you 12 points. He's not going to get you almost anything else from the look of that line, but
yeah, he's
just looking at the plays on there. There's like a few plays that like stand out to me. Like John Henson is supposed to be pretty good, like just good talent, and you got where is he? Jared Solinger from Boston. He's like, if you're on rebounds and he's getting more of the ball, like he's actually a pretty good talent in Boston, and he plays.
Yeah, well, hopefully Vitor sort of slacks off, and some of the more regular guys in Boston start getting some touches, and it sorts itself out. Because I have no idea what's going on in Boston at the moment. But yeah, I mean, well, it's still only, 3 or 4 days into the season, so a lot can change over the next week, and hopefully this sort of section will be a lot more interesting in future weeks when we've got a lot more data to go on.
Yeah, it's hard to take much from just a handful of games. They're all a little overblown or underblown, some of the figures.
But I don't know, can you guys still see what I'm looking at? I just changed it to all players. Took it off the, I guess... Yeah, I mean, I took it off sort of having just the players that are available, and this is everybody. And I'm just going to sort by a couple of stats, and we'll see if we can see if there's some surprises there or anything like that. Chris Paul, number 1, over Kevin Durant. I thought that Kevin Durant would lead the league in scoring by a long way.
I think he probably will by season's end, but he had one really bad game this week, which brought him right down.
Yeah, well, he was on like 35 or something like that beforehand, or 42, sorry, yeah. Crazy. But it's only a 2-game sample. Kevin Love, 27.5 is crazy, with 14.5 boards. Wow. And 3 threes as well, that's crazy. But what about sort of surprise players? I guess maybe Klay Thompson up there. Anthony Davis, 24 points is great. I thought he was going to have a good year, but I didn't think he'd be that good. Dirk Nowitzki with 23. I thought he was done for.
Anthony Davis was amazing today. Did you see his game today?
Yeah.
Yeah, nearly a 5x5?
5x5, yeah. He had what? 6 blocks, 6 steals?
I'll bring it up here. Yeah, 25, 6, 4, and 8. That's crazy.
That kid's gonna be amazing.
He did look really good. And I think we talked about him in last week's show. And I wasn't sold, but I think I'm starting to get there.
I was sold since the preseason, like 2010 easy. Like the kid's got it all. Like he can handle the ball. He's getting that mid-range shot. Like he's too quick for power forwards. He blocks shots. He has a like defensive instinct on just what to do. Once his offensive game gets like more refined, he's gonna be a big player.
Yeah, he definitely will. I guess 2 other names in the top 20 there's a couple of other names in the top 20, but just quickly, Carlos Boozer, 22 points. I don't expect that to last. I reckon Rose will start getting more points, and Boozer his numbers will drop. Aaron Affollo, 22 points a game. Yeah, I think in his first game he shot like 2 of 18 or something crazy like that. So I don't know if that was...
He was terrible in the first game, and he was huge in the big one yesterday.
And then I guess Carmelo, 20 points, like number 25 or something like that. That's pretty low.
It is for him, but if you look at his other... I don't actually have the same page open as you, but his assist numbers, I'm tipping, will be higher than what they have been, just judging from the games I've watched, obviously. I know against the Bulls, especially, he didn't have a huge amount of points. I think it was 20-something, like 18, it might have been. But he had 6 rebounds, 6 assists, and a handful of steals as well. I think he had 3 or 4 steals in there.
No, I've got it up now. Would you believe he had 22 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, 6 steals, 2 blocks.
Yeah, 6 steals. Yeah, he had a good all-round game, and I love seeing that from our team is better when he plays like that.
So you prefer that than more points?
Yeah, I'd much prefer that. Because if he's not scoring that, and bearing in mind J.R. Smith's still got to come back as well, he's serving his suspension, so he's our second scorer.
Oh, so why he hasn't been playing?
Yeah, suspension for violating the drug policy. Too much weed.
Some of the other categories, I guess. I'll just go quickly through some of the other ones because it's gone for quite a while so far. Blocks. There's a couple of guys that are getting sort of more than 3, and then there's a big drop. I mean, there's 4 guys that are getting 4 or more a game, which is crazy. Roy Hibbert, Tyson Chandler, that Favarani guy, and Anthony Davis. And then next is David West, which we're not even going to talk about.
Yeah, that won't be there for long.
I reckon Anthony Davis is going to average 2 to 3 a game. And Roy Hibbert, I don't think he's averaged over 2. Like, I think last season he averaged like around 2. But it's going to be a breakout season for him. And the rest are in his favour. The rest are in his favour this year because, you know, he goes straight up.
But the rest of his stats don't look that impressive. But, I mean, just those almost 5 blocks a game adds so much to fantasy value. Like, he's only going 8 and 8, but 5 blocks you can... I mean, that's a category right there wrapped up, if he can keep that up.
Really?
And then assists. I want to see how your predictions sort of looking. Yeah, you're right. There's sort of a handful of dudes above 6. There's sort of 3 guys above 10, with Rubio. Jeff Teague. That's actually a surprise. He's got 10.5 a game. Even Lana, I didn't think he was that good. But Lana's looking pretty good. I mean, him, Corver, Millsap, and Al Horford are all looking good so far. And so's the team. Apart from that, LeBron James is 4th with 9. Stephen Curry and Michael Carter-Williams have both got 9 as well. I think we talked about on draft night, ESPN had Stephen Curry predicted to make 5 assists a game. I think it's safe to say that's probably not going to happen.
I think it's a bit like... It's a bit surprising that he's got 9 per game right now, but it's only been like 3 games. So, but I think that's going to drop. He's going to take more shots.
I think as well, if Golden State are going to continue to score 110, 120 points a game, so those assist numbers, there are a chance of staying up that high if they're scoring that many buckets. And Curry plays a lot of minutes. He's got the ball in his hands a lot. So, yeah, if they're going to score that much, then he's going to be at the start of some of those passes.
I still have a feeling he's going to get injured though this season.
I'd be glad if that happens because I didn't draft him. Yeah, I mean, what are some of the other categories? I guess 3-pointers. Stephen Curry with 5.3. Then the next closest is Damian Lillard with 4. That's a bit of a surprise, I guess.
Yeah, that won't last.
And then 3.5 per game for Ariza at number 3. I mean,
yeah,
most of these guys have never even really thought about. Like Francesco Garcia is 4. What the hell? Even Jason Terry's got a bit of a revival. He's getting 3 games so far. But yeah,
does look scary though.
What team?
The Brooklyn team does look scary.
Yeah. If he can come on and give them a couple of 3s a game, they'll look real good. Well, I guess there's not much more to talk about for this week apart from next week's matchups. And is there any sort of studs or standouts that you've seen this week, Peach?
In terms of fantasy?
Like Nick Batum getting a triple-double today was pretty impressive.
Yeah, that was with a 3 on the buzzer. But normally that ball would have been held up because the game was decided. That was a bit... I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. But yeah, still triple-double obviously for fantasy is fantastic. This guy, probably not a huge surprise, but Paul George has been really good fantasy-wise. He's been hitting 3s, he's been rebounding, he's been getting assists, he's been getting steals, and he's scored heaps as well. So Paul George has been fantastic to start the year.
Yeah, well, he was taking a few picks ahead of where ESPN had him go, and I don't think who took him? Ewok. Yeah, I don't think he'll be too upset.
Going really well.
And I've got to give some love to Kevin Love. He's looked really good as well from a fantasy point of view.
Yeah.
27, 15, 3-3-pointers, some good percentages. That's what you want.
I'm getting a shout out to Nature's boy Chris Paul. He's been amazing this week.
Yeah, right. He has been really spectacular. Minus that first game. I mean, he's still got 11 assists, but...
So if you look at the player radar for the last 15 days, so it's obviously only this season, Chris Paul number 1, Anthony Davis number 2, Michael Carter-Williams number 3, and then as you go down the list, there's a few in there that you wouldn't think are going to hold that sort of lofty position. I think Chris Paul and Anthony Davis both will be up towards the top anyway, with LeBron and KD come season's end. But Spencer Hawes, he's up there at number 6. I don't think that'll last all season.
I reckon Spencer Hawes will have a good season. Not that great like what he's playing right now, but he's got potential to play well. And he can hit threes, so...
Yeah, and he's always been a good fantasy player as well, because I'm sure he's had triple-doubles before with assists, or been very close to it.
He had like maybe 20 rebound games, a few 20 rebound games, I remember.
He's just been really inconsistent in the past, but I guess playing on a what should be a fairly bad Philly team, hopefully he keeps it up, because I've got him. So you go, Spencer. I'm behind you, mate.
Other surprises, I guess, Carlos Boozer up there. He's been really good, but I don't know if that will last.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Nate Stevenson ahead of Kevin Love, are you kidding me? Mario Chalmers above Lance Stevenson? What is happening? Mario Chalmers in the top 20 and LeBron's not. I know he is, but they're both in the top 20. That's outrageous.
Yeah, Mario Chalmers won't be up there for long, I think.
Mario Chalmers. that guy.
Yeah. Well, I guess let's have a quick look at this week's matchups. We may have to go back to that spreadsheet just so we can compare some guys from this week and see what we think's going to happen, because people wanted our predictions for next round. So I'll just bring it up again. Alright, so who we got next round? We got me and Peach. Let's have a quick look. I'll just filter that. It'll be easier if I use my name. There we go. Based on this round, I think you've probably got a bit more of an even matchup with me. I
hope my stats are a lot better next week than what they were this week. I'm really relying on that being a really down week.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think you're only beating me in blocks and turnovers.
And free throw.
And that free throw, yeah, you could. I reckon you could sneak out 4, maybe 5. I reckon it would be a lot closer than it would be looking at this week's stats.
Yeah, look, it depends. I need Al Jefferson healthy, number 1. If he's not going to play, then I'm gone. I need Larry Sanders to do something, even if he's not doing huge rebound numbers. I'm not probably no chance of winning rebounds with Kevin Love in the matchup, but I just need to block him some shots. Like those 5 block shots difference, I had a lot more projected difference between me and Ewok, and he absolutely smashed me in blocks. So I just need my guys to perform to how they're expected to, and if they do, I think I'll be okay. It'll be close at least.
Yeah, well, I won't ask for too much of your strategy, because then I'll try and counter it. But we'll look at that more for some other people, I guess. Next we've got Natures and Ewok. Ewok and Nature Boy. This looks a lot closer. Look at that field goal percentage. That's really close. 3-pointers dead on. Rebounds pretty much right on. These are number 1 and 2 in assists. Right on in steals. This will be probably the match of the round. Look at that. That's crazy.
I think so. I think we'll see, and having seen Ewok up really close this week, I think he'll have a bit of regression this week, because he's had some unbelievable performances day after day this week. His 3-pointers, I think Nature's will beat him in 3-pointers. Ewok's got a couple of guys who've had big 3-point games, but just unexpected and probably won't be all that common. Field goal percent and free throw percent are a bit 50-50 at the best of times, I think.
But he has got DeAndre. And if teams are playing Hacker DeAndre, then
Yeah, that's true.
that number could get dragged down. So
Yeah.
I think Nature's with DeAndre. As long as he's playing him, he's not going to win that category.
I think this might come down to the turnover category. This matchup. Turnovers and 3-pointers are really two swing categories.
Yeah. Well, it should be a very interesting one, and I'll be watching that all week. What do we got? Jode and Deucenut. Dewey and Jode. What's his name? Vella. It doesn't. No, it looks pretty close again.
It does, yeah. I think it's got it. If I've counted right, it's projecting 5-4 to Dewey. But very close categories in there. That could go either way.
Yeah, well, Jode had a couple of really good rounds, and he's got a lot of scorers. So I'd imagine he'll take pretty much all of the scoring categories. He'll probably do a bit better in free throws next week. Maybe some threes if Melo starts hitting some threes. Rebounds, He's got a lot of big men who can rebound. He's got Bogut, he's got Boozer, who have both been playing pretty well. I think he could do pretty well.
Yeah.
But that's probably as close as the Nature's game.
It's interesting that it's got Dewey ahead on free throw percent. I bet you he loses that category.
Yeah, yeah, we'll see. Maybe Joe could win that one.
These just to clarify, Brett, these stats are based off this week's results, were they?
Yeah, this is based on 4 days worth of games so far. So we've only had some players have only had 2 games, some have had 3. So it's a bit hard to get much info. But I figured this was more accurate than the preseason projections.
Yeah, for sure.
What else have we got? CDR and Venjos. That doesn't look great.
Yeah, I think Benjos getting ahead reasonably.
Maybe.
Well, Benjos should have field goals, 3-pointers.
Yeah, he's got 6 to 3 at the moment there.
Yeah.
I mean, these were 2 of the lower guys in assists, so maybe if one of them picks up somebody off waiver wires and they have a good week, or somebody gets a couple of blocks. There was quite a few blocks on the bench, so maybe CTR or Benjos could pick up Favarari or whatever his name is. Get a couple of blocks there and try and win that, because that 5 blocks a game, I mean, that's more than they've had all week by the looks of it from the entire team. They're pretty weak in that category, so I think blocks might be the key to this week if CTR wants to try and win this one.
Yeah, and you would think for CTR seeing his field goal percent 39% last week, you would hope that would come up a little bit.
That's pretty bad. Yeah. But, yeah, I think CDR needs to do a bit more. And then who we got left? We got TBG and Hip Hop.
Bearing in mind too that CTR, his strategy was drafting Kobe and Rondo as well, so I'm sure he's not too concerned about his early season. So
yeah, exactly. And we'll definitely be looking at that a bit later in the year. It's not game over if you lose right now, so it should be good. This is the final match of the round. This looks like it's sort of people have nailed their categories. Like this is what a cat league should look like. There shouldn't be that many close categories. People should be trying to win specific categories, and that's it.
Yeah.
I mean, it almost goes up, down, up. It does go up, down the entire way.
Yeah.
And
close one.
I mean, it's not even close. So it just comes down to, I guess, both people making their projections, and then maybe it will come down to field goal percentage or something like that. I'm not sure, but
yeah.
It looks like if it follows this trend, I think. Who did I calculate wins? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, I guess TBG is going to win that one.
Looks that way. I guess the thing with a weekly matchup though, and it's going to win a few of the matchups this week, that one player can have 1 or 2 surprising games in one category and totally swing that category in your favour. So across the season, you would think that should level out a little bit. But, those categories that are somewhat close, like assists, TVGs had about 13. But, one or two big games from one or two Piaz guys in terms of assists, could well put him out in front.
Yeah, well, that's true. All right. Well, I haven't got much else to talk about. How about you?
No, not really. Honestly, continue whinging about my team, but I don't want to do that.
Yeah, fair enough.
I've got one thing I want to bring up. Yeah, it's good enough for you guys. This new stat thing from NBA.com. Pretty cool. Well, it doesn't even bring it up. Okay, hold on, I'll put it up on my screen. One sec.
Oh, it's loading it on mine. Alright. What's it supposed to do?
Okay, so they're tracking like new things like they've got speed and distance, touches and possessions, how many passes they make per game, defensive impact, rebounding opportunities. There's heaps of new stats.
So that's good. So you can look at passes rather than like assists, because there could be a lot of passes, but if you guys aren't shooting, so
if you want to look at possessions, look, Jameer Nelson and Murray Chalmers are getting a lot of the possession, like touches. I think they've got new measuring tools that just measure everything now. So Chris Paul definitely getting the most touches per game
by a big chunk.
So
that's interesting. I'm going to have to check out this, and maybe I'll bring up some interesting stats for next week's show.
Yeah.
They started in the last couple of years. A few of the teams have had the cameras in their stadiums to do these stats, but not every team has had it until this season. So it should be interesting to keep an eye on this year.
Yeah.
I saw just last year about Kevin Durant collecting. They made some measurement of when the ball is within a certain distance from the player on a rebound, who gets the highest percentage of rebounds, and apparently it was Kevin Durant by a long way. So if the ball's near him, he'll snuffle it up, and I think Kevin Love was second. But there's a few interesting ones in there that sort of shows how good a rebounder K-Love is, I suppose, if he's somebody's getting more ball than him when it's near to him, but his positioning obviously is out of this world to be able to collect rebounds that he shouldn't really be getting.
Yeah, we've got like contested rebounds per game and uncontested rebounds per game right here. So
where's Kevin? Oh yeah.
He's number third. He's third. 6.5.
That's a surprise.
Yeah. Well, Sheik is a beast, even though he's playing with Dwight. I think Sheik is averaging like 10 rebounds per game. Now look, 11.7. Right next to Dwight, who's having 17 per game. So that's, 28, 29 rebounds per game through two people. So it's pretty amazing.
Yeah. Well, that means a lot of missed shots. Chandler Parsons hasn't been playing well, and I've got him in my fantasy team, so I need him to start shooting better. And a couple of those guards. Have they sorted out the guard position? Because I heard that Beverly got injured. And so he's going to be missing a few games. So it looks like it's back on Jeremy Lin to do all the work.
Yeah, Jeremy Lin and Aaron Brooks has taken his sort of the backup minutes, I suppose.
I forgot about Aaron Brooks there. How's he been looking?
Terrible for years.
Terrible.
He was a 20-point scorer in the NBA not that long ago. It was only a few seasons ago, but he's got right up.
Hopefully Jeremy Lin can turn it around. But I guess as long as they're missing shots, Dwight's getting them, and so's the Sheik, I guess. So if they can get all these second chance points and put back baskets, then they can just jack it up and treat it like an alley-oop.
Yeah.
James Harden's been surprisingly pretty good as well.
Surprisingly good? Isn't he like exactly as good as we thought he was from last year?
Like we didn't think he was going to be be scoring as much compared to last season. Because Dwight's coming.
Yeah, I think we mentioned that. What was that, Peach?
Who are you talking about?
Harden.
Oh, okay.
I think we thought that Dwight was actually going to be worse and Harden was going to be about the same, but I think Dwight's more of a surprise to me.
I was worried about Dwight taking up Harden's driving lanes, but it hasn't happened so far. It does look pretty good.
I think Dwight's like fully recovered from his injury as well, because he looks a lot healthier and a lot more athletic.
And happy to be there as well.
Yeah, very happy. He's said in every interview so far that he's extremely happy and they're treating him like a king, so he'll probably have a really good season and maybe he'll be back to the form he was in a few years ago. But he probably won't win Defensive Player of the Year.
Well, the way he's going right now, has a chance.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, well, I think that's about it for me, fellas. Is there anything else that you wanted to bring up?
I'm going to cover it for this week.
Yeah, that was a pretty good session. Alright, well I think I'm going to end it there, and thanks for that, guys. I'll chat to you later.
Alright, see you guys soon.
There it is.